said this is actually spiritual. They say this is actually how it was designed, how it was planned. But maybe I don't really understand what they are saying. Let me just allow the clip roll out for you guys so that you guys can actually see, because where the spirituality is coming in is what I literally do not understand. And like I said, maybe you guys will literally help me understand better. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you. Liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And guys, with that being said, let's go watch and let me know your honest opinion in the comment section. Make sure you watch this to the end. Let's go see it.
U.S. troops were told the war in Iran is biblically sanctioned and part of a divine plan, and that is why they must fight in it.
I have some thoughts about these military commanders telling troops that the war in Iran is due to God's plan, and not just God's plan. They said it was God's divine plan, and that this was a biblical push towards Armageddon. Now, if anybody really know the Bible, we know anyone that's ushering in Armageddon to fight they're going to be the AC. So is that what y'all telling us? Okay, is that I don't think these people know really what they're saying. And this is how we see and how we know that the Great Deception, that we are here at the Great Deception. Now, again, I wholeheartedly believe that God is judging the nations, okay? They said that, the principal was anointed by God. This was a holy war. Again, I'm going to say this. Now, how they worded it, what they saying, I'm not with that. But what I am saying is God is judging the nations, and not other nations, but even us. We're going to be judged too. It's going to come down our street. But to my point of what I really wanted to say, they have a different God. The whole deception, please catch it. The deception of this is they have a whole different God. It is not the same God. It's not. What God you talking about? What's his name? Who we talking about? Who we serving? Who? There is the deception. The deception is here, and that is what we're seeing being created. What's going to get ready to happen, because the prosecution of the saints are coming. So now this whole narrative is being literally created, and it's all a part of the enemy's plan, okay? He's creating this because Christianity, in a little bit, is because of what we see that is happening. People are going to begin to go against it. The mere fact that the military, that's how y'all still don't think this stuff is spiritual? We still thinking this is all political. We're still there. We still don't understand how spiritual everything about this world right now that is transpiring, that is happening. Even the war is spiritual. And that's why so many of us is fighting in the spirit. There's so much warfare that is happening towards your life right now, because it is now manifesting in the physical, and we see it. We can see it with our eyes, with the world, on the world stage. To everything, these commanders and this holy war and Trump and all this other stuff, God, over time, if we look at the Bible, God has used many kings, okay? Many kings have come and they have gone. And they have been used to complete what God needed them to do, whether right or wrong. Because what God does is he can take that wrong and turn it for right. And he can take that wrong and use it so he can get the glory, and use it so his will can be accomplished. And that is what we're seeing. I don't look to these people as righteous people, because we can see their fruits. It's very clear. I don't look at any of the GOV people. I don't look at them as righteous people. I just don't. If they are, they are. But I don't look to them as righteous people. I look to them as God has placed them there for purpose and for his purpose and for his will to be done. There's a great religious deception that is already here. It's not on the way. It is being indoctrinated even now. We must be careful that we are not getting wrapped up into these scenarios and these thought processes. Again, God has spoken. He's here to judge the nations. These nations who have held these people captive and all the GOV people, it's full of sin. So God has to break it down, the systems. And it's coming down our street, Americas. 5.1 seconds. Let's make it 2.1. Let's wrap this up. It's coming down our street because we're so full of pride and arrogance and think that we're untouchable. But it's coming. I pray that people are not deceived in this hour, that we truly recognize what is the Spirit of God and what God's character. And the only way to do that is through his word. Because what y'all calling God, I'll be like, where? Where's the characteristics? Where's the Spirit? I'm going back to my Bible. Am I missing something? Do not be tricked in this hour. The Bible says that many will come in my name and say that I am the child. Y'all ain't caught them scriptures yet. There is a huge deception that is here. Our prayer is that God will continue to reveal the satanic practices, the satanic witchcraft that has a hold on God's people, where it's blocking us not being able to see the demonic spirit that is in the land of deception. That is the prayer, that God would continuously grow us into the knowledge where we are able to see with discerning eyes through the Spirit of God what is demonic, what is him, and that we will know him. That's why God is calling us deeper to know him. Because when you know him, you know his character. You know his spirit. You know when he's in the room. You know when he's with a person. You will be able to recognize it. So I hope y'all recognize this. It's a deception coming, and it's here.
I'm not shocked by the ceasefire, but it's not going to last. Anybody that knows the Bible, they know that it says in the end times, the Antichrist will establish a false peace and then he'll break that covenant. After he breaks the covenant, there will be a period of tribulation. After that, it's the final battle. It's Armageddon. So we're at the beginning of the final stages of Revelation, when the great battle takes place and then Jesus is established as Lord at the end. So don't be fooled by the ceasefire, because a lot of these treaties tend to not work. I don't think that it'll last long at all. Keep your eyes on the news and keep your eyes on the Middle East.
It's now being reported that troops are being told that the war in Iran is part of God's divine plan, and it is intended to bring in the end times, bring Jesus' second return and Armageddon. You can Google this and find many articles. Here's one source from Al Jazeera. Here's an excerpt we can read quickly. An unnamed, non-commissioned officer wrote in an email to the Military Religious Freedom Foundation that a commander had urged officers to tell our troops that this is all part of God's divine plan, and he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. A war is one thing, a holy war is a completely different set of circumstances. I remember during Trump's first campaign, I traveled back to South Carolina and was talking to a few people. They noted they would be voting for Trump because he would bring in the end times. At the time, I thought that this was an isolated belief, but over the last few years, we have seen that this form of Christianity, Christian nationalism, and this fundamentalist theology is embedded and central to the Trump administration. We know that, and Israel knows that, and they are playing the United States and Trump like a fiddle. We need to take this seriously, and we need to work to combat that online and in person. This type of rhetoric really emboldens people into thinking that they are some type of martyr. Their fighting and their death is contributing to a larger plan from God. And not only is this going to hurt our troops, the people that they are ultimately attacking in Iran, but it's going to hurt people right here in the United States. We have seen this time and time again. As soon as you start using this type of rhetoric, non-Christians on United States soil are going to start being under attack. It is not enough for us to simply call these folks idiots or to say they are delusional. We have to understand how this philosophy, how this theology understands how it works, and we have to combat it. I hope this video posts. Every time I've tried to post a video on the Bible, Christianity, or biblical interpretation, it doesn't go out. It's suppressed.
I'm sorry, what do you mean US military commanders are telling their troops that the war in Iran is a biblical, holy war to bring about Armageddon? Like, that is the actual justification a lot of these commanders are excitedly telling their troops right now. US commanders at more than 30 different US military installations are telling their troops that this is a Christian war meant to bring about the return of Jesus. This is being reported by the nonprofit group, the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, who is allegedly being inundated with calls. More than 110 complaints have come in about this religious rhetoric regarding the war in Iran. And this holy war rhetoric isn't just coming from random US military commanders, it's coming from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, it's coming from Benjamin Netanyahu. They're saying this is all part of God's plan, this is the biblical book of Revelation come to life. And if you know anything about Revelation, this should be terrifying for everyone, that a nuclear power, one that is built on the promise of separation of church and state, is espousing this dangerous religious rhetoric. We're really getting into holy wars in the big 2026.
America and Iran will also fight, also a physical altercation, not just words. Iran will emerge the victor from that in terms of clear points. One, this is because America is not expecting to be touched by any nation in terms of a physical fight, but she will be. Iran will touch her. Iran will draw blood. They will land blows, and for this alone, they will be respected and highly congratulated by the Arab countries surrounding them, as well as secretly by many of America's enemies. So the prophecy that I received, I think it was also 2020. It is called the cockfight. And it is almost a word-by-word reiteration of what I have just read, that Iran and America are not going to just have this thing that they've had going for the last 40 to 50 years. One person will make a speech from Washington and the other person will make a speech from the capital, Iran. It's not going to be like that. The Lord said that there's going to be actual physical interaction involving soldiers. American soldiers will be killed in view of the fact that Iran will draw blood, physical blood. But the Lord says that Iran's greatest victory will be the fact that she is able to touch America and make her feel it. And for the fact that she will have the courage to do this, and she will also have the ability to do this. In the cockfight, the Lord showed that there is great fury in the heart of Iran. Now, when I speak of these nations and I just say America, Russia, Iran, understand that this is a nation composed of a leader, a leadership, and people. And when you do something against a nation, it touches the old women, it touches the grandfathers, it touches the youth who are at that time in life where they want opportunities, they want to be able to grow, they want to be able to travel and things like that. And when you crush a country the way America has crushed Iran and crushed Cuba, you build up a flame of hatred, not only in the progressive leaders that come over the seasons. For instance, the guy who's leading Iran now is probably not the same guy who was leading it when they had that Olympics incident and something like that. So people do get old, they die, leadership change. But when you have a specific international policy against a nation that you do not lift, that you do not move, you cultivate fury in the heart of that nation as one man against you. This does not mean that every person in that country will say, we hate this nation. But on a whole, if you take a poll, because of the way you have affected national pride, because of the way you have affected and basically shaped the kind of life that those people have access to, through sanctions, through punishment, through trade embargoes, through telling people at the United Nations, this is the boogeyman. If you trade with the boogeyman, you yourself will be counted as a boogeyman lover and you will be punished. Family, I am telling you the truth, because prophecy comes not to talk to your the red side that you love or the blue side that you love. Prophecy comes to tell the truth. And these are the last of last years and days. I'm not saying that tomorrow the entire Master's Voice blog is going to fulfill itself. I'm saying that we are in the time, and the Lord is always telling me this with an urgency, that we are in the time where there is nothing that has been done in the dark that will not come to light. There is nothing that has happened in secret that will not be revealed. So for me to sit here and be disingenuous and be like, oh, I don't know if what they did is right. The policy of this nation is a crushing policy. And the vision that I will speak of in this will reveal that even if I were not here, or even if I were to just disappear off the planet tomorrow, God forbid, the Lord knows the truth of the nations. And he is speaking to the nations according to who they are. No nation can say, but it is not me. I have not done these things. I wipe my mouth and there's no evidence. All the evidence has been written by the watchers before I was born. So I am here to speak out now. The things in the darkness and the things that as a collective, this nation sat and stamped and said, it's okay, go overseas and do these things. Now God is here with the receipt, and somebody has to pay that receipt. So let the listeners of this channel understand that I am not here for any single man, woman, boy, or pet. I am here because the truth of the Lord will be spoken so that the nation can have a full apprehension. That means the full picture of how God in heaven sees things and why we will and are going through the things that we are. Let God be true and every man a liar. And so, when you dictate and when you pursue policy that crushes nations, eventually, even Nebuchadnezzar found this out, heaven will pursue policy that crushes you. And so, Iran will touch America. They're going to have some kind of fight, some kind of altercation. And when Iran draws blood, the Arab world is going to be extremely happy. They may show it visibly, they may not show it visibly. And not only that, but there are many people around the world, President Putin and President Xi, and I'm not naming or picking on them. It's all documented in the prophecy. Sorry, when I point this way, I'm pointing to my computer.
Apparently, it's a holy war, and they're triggering Armageddon, which doesn't not sound nuclear, by the way. Oh, no, not the Iranians. No, the Americans. Yeah. Turns out our military is run by a bunch of jihadists. You like that one? Apparently, a military watchdog group has been receiving hundreds of complaints from troops about their superiors calling this a Christian holy war. Yikes. They think Trump was anointed by Jesus. And mind you, we're just a couple of days into this crusade, I guess. Kind of helps to explain why they have no plan, no goals, and also why Trump is so mad that Spain is sitting this one out. We are pretty good at this sort of thing. Sorry. Apparently, one commander in a combat readiness status briefing for a unit that might be deployed to Iran told them not to worry, that this was, quote, all part of God's divine plan. That President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. He had a big grin on his face when he said all of this, which made his message even more crazy. I thought we'd reached peak irony a few insane steps back, but I gotta admit, I miscalculated. Turns out it wasn't the justification of this being that the regime was taking the lives of peaceful protesters, that it was imprisoning dissidents and people without due process. It wasn't even that they had nukes. No, we're just speedrunning straight into a brick wall of irony on this one. I guess I gotta admit that I was wrong. This is in fact about a group of nutjobs waging a holy war in the name of a fundamentalist belief system built on subjugating women and the LGBTQ and any easily othered ethnicity, as well as anyone who disagrees with them. It's not just about ensuring women cover up every inch of their bodies, have absolutely no autonomy, and are stuck with abusive men. Martyrs are gonna die for the cause. That's just what happens. So, spot on about the death cult allegations. Also, they're trying to trigger Armageddon. They were right about all of it. Textbook jihad. And by the way, none of this should surprise you. It's been obvious for quite some time that anytime they fearmonger about Sharia law, it's actually just jealousy. A fun fact. And this is no doubt coming from the top. Pete Kegsbreath himself has been quite open about his particular flavor of Christian fundamentalism. He's not only against democracy, feminism, critical race theory, which I challenge him to define accurately. He also thinks public schools are basically evil because they implement a, quote, egalitarian dystopian LGBT nightmare. Ah, yes, the hellscape that is egalitarianism. According to an expert on his particular flavor. They're only committed to theocracy. Quote, if the democratic system brings that about, so be it. If a monarchy brings it about, that's okay too. And if a dictatorship does, that's also okay. Their commitment is to theocracy, the government of civil society according to biblical law and biblical revelation. Sure sounds a little familiar. Are we the baddies? I'm just kidding. Obviously. Obviously we are. Al-Qaeda has just been fear-mongering every single step of the way about other countries and peoples doing exactly what they are doing. You are literally everything you claim is evil. Because as always, every accusation is so on and...
Iran. Tensions are heating up in the world regarding this country. So what does the Bible tell us, prophetically speaking, about Iran? First of all, let's understand that the modern country of Iran used to be called Persia before 1935. And we encounter Persia many times in the Word of God, in history and prophetically. In the book of Daniel, we find out that God let Daniel know that the kingdom of Babylon, where he was exiled, would be taken over by the Medes and the Persians. And following on their heels would come Alexander the Great with Greece, and after that would come the Roman Empire, and finally the revived Roman Empire, or the empire of the Antichrist. And in fact, history demonstrates that in 539 BC, the Medo-Persian Empire took over the Babylonian Empire. Now, we actually in Daniel chapter 8 see that when God gave Daniel a vision of Antiochus Epiphanes, a horrible persecutor of the Jews about 200 years before Jesus came, and God also gave him a vision of the coming Antichrist, that vision is given to Daniel when he is transported, probably spiritually, to Elam, which is in Persia. As God foretold, the Medo-Persian Empire was taken over by the Greeks, then by the Romans, and finally different powers took over that land until we have the modern state of Iran. But that is still, in biblical terms, Persia. And Ezekiel 38 and 39 tell us that Persia, along with Turkey, Sudan, Libya, Central Asia possibly, and Russia, will come together and will have this battle of what is known as Gog and Magog, where they come together and attempt to wipe out what will be the modern state of Israel at that point. Now, I believe that that battle of Gog and Magog coming against Israel, that involves for sure Russia and Iran, I believe that that happens somewhere right after the rapture of the church. Because the Bible tells us that even though this conglomeration of powerful countries come together to try to wipe out Israel, God will miraculously intervene and bring them to nothing immediately. Now, if that happens sometime after the rapture of the church, then that will leave a great power vacuum in the world. A great power vacuum that can then allow the Antichrist, who up until that point has attempted to show himself as a peacemaker, will be able to fill that void of power and rise up so that by midway into the tribulation, he then demands to be worshiped at point of death. This is one of the reasons that I believe that battle will happen shortly after the rapture. Nonetheless, Iran is a huge player, not only in biblical history, but in biblical prophecy. Everything that continues to happen in the world does not disprove the Bible. It actually demonstrates that God knows exactly what he's talking about. Everything is aligning with what the Lord has said and what Jesus Christ has corroborated when he speaks of his return in Matthew chapter 24. I encourage you to study this. You know, you can jump onto my YouTube channel, Shelley Prindle on YouTube, and study the book of Revelation with me, verse by verse, and the book of Daniel, verse by verse. Prophecy is being fulfilled. Jesus is coming back.
Reports that U.S. troops were being told that the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran was in preparation for Armageddon and also the return of Jesus. Cenk, is this comforting information for you?
No, just when you thought the Israeli Zionists were bad enough in starting wars for all the wrong reasons, here comes the Christian Zionists. Joy. Wait till you hear what the commander said about why we're in this war and what to do. Tell us about it, Yes.
All right, so let's give you the high points. This is from Jonathan Larson's report. He says a combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers at a briefing Monday that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth. And that is according to a non-commissioned officer. So we'll talk more about whatever that even means later. But between Saturday and Monday, more than 110 complaints had been logged by the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, or the MRFF, regarding the rhetoric about commanders in every branch of military. The complaints were widespread across more than 40 different units across roughly 30 military installations. And according to one report, the non-commissioned officer wrote to the MRFF that their commander urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. And it is very understandable that all of this is coming directly from the top, because Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has enshrined evangelical Christianity at the uppermost levels of the US military, airing monthly prayer meetings throughout the Pentagon. Last year, the Pentagon confirmed to Larson that Hegseth attends a weekly White House Bible study, and it's led by a preacher who says that God commands America to support Israel. And these are the people, again, who are running our country and running our military, and these are the things that they believe. So Larson spoke with MRFF president and founder Mikey Weinstein about the report, and this is what Weinstein had to say. He said, these calls have one damn thing in freaking common. Our MRFF clients, service members who seek MRFF aid, report the unrestricted euphoria of their commanders and command chains as to how this new biblically sanctioned war is clearly the undeniable sign of the expeditious approach of the fundamentalist Christian end times as vividly described in the New Testament book of Revelation. Many of their commanders are especially delighted with how graphic this battle will be, zeroing in on how bloody all of this must become in order to fulfill and be in 100% accordance with fundamentalist Christian end of word eschatology, and that is, the end of worldness. That is terrifying that they seem to be giddy about everything that's happening now. It seems as though they're finally able to usher in this end of world, and so they can be raptured and go up to heaven. And of course, all of this violates the Constitution, which they don't seem worried about because the Constitution is very worldly and earthbound. And it also violates the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Weinstein had some choice words for the military members speaking this way to their subordinates, saying that they will be swiftly, aggressively, and visibly prosecuted. However, this is not the first time that talk like this was within our military in some capacity. Weinstein says that this kind of end of the world thinking creeps up anytime that Israel comes up. So after October 7th, 2023, Hamas is obviously attacked Israel, for instance, and the MRFF reported a complaint about an Air Force commander who said at a briefing that the war between Israel and Hamas has all been foretold by the book of Revelation in the gospel of Jesus Christ, and no one can do anything about that. Wow. As for what these evangelicals are even talking about, evangelicals are, in.
God is not an altar of confusion. God is not an altar of confusion. And God cannot tell this person, say, go into war. This is not a time of law. This is a time of grace. This is a time of mercy. So let's not use that as a measure to make it look like all of this is God's plans. I believe in the Bible. I believe on the last day. But saying that the war with Iran is not, please, is not. It is the orange man and the Israeli man's war. So nobody should come here deceive us. Nobody should come here and make it look like it's something that must happen. We had a choice. We had a choice. God is not an author of confusion. I will still keep saying it. And this is not me saying I don't believe in revelation, I don't believe in spirituality, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that. No. But for you to go put the lives of people in line, children waiting for their father without returning, wife waiting for their husbands, husbands waiting for their wives, all in the name of you want to fulfill God's plan. It is not God's plan, please. Let's not deceive ourselves. Let's not twist it. Let's not make it look as if we don't understand what we are going into. It is the plan of the orange man and his friend. It is their plan. Because we are literally not supposed to be in this position at the first place. We are not supposed to be in this position. We are not even supposed to be talking about this in the first place. When someone can just wake up one morning, make decision without asking anybody, and you say this is God's plan. You say this is what God wants. I'm sorry if I'm not seeing reasons from where others are seeing reasons from. And that's why I'm so happy for the first lady that spoke, where she said this is actually a deceptive way. Honestly, if I have my way, I would just want this war of a thing to just end. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's not profiting anybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Credit belongs to original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you, liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And guys, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye now. I'll see you guys in my next one. Please, for disclaimers, this is just for educational purposes only, not to come here, defame anyone, make anyone feel uncomfortable. But you guys, let me know your honest opinion in the comment section. I'll see you in my next one.